Welcome to the Dairy News and Views podcast, a production of the Iowa State University Extension and Outreach Dairy Team. Our podcast covers current educational, research, and industry tools available for your operation to manage healthy cows and calves while producing the highest quality dairy products.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Hola y bienvenidos to this episode of Spanish Friday with the Dairy News and Views podcast from the ISU Extension Dairy Team. I'm your host. I'm Gail Carpenter, the State Extension Specialist with Iowa State University. I am joined by Miguel Rangel. He is the owner of Optimum Dairy Consulting. And
Hola,
we have been
hola.
practicing, yes, hola, Miguel. We have been practicing Spanish and making very small progress week after week.
Very small problem.
Hopefully, our listeners have been making faster progress than I have, but I appreciate everybody's patience with us, and I assume you're still, if you're listening, you're listening. I don't know how many listeners we've lost because they've gotten tired of hearing me struggle with Spanish, but hopefully people are picking a couple things up here and there. Today we wanted to talk a little bit about record keeping. This is a topic that's come up a couple times as we've been talking
Yes.
about milking procedures. We've been talking about mastitis. We've spent a lot of time over the past couple weeks talking about calves, right? And the idea of keeping good records has come up a few times. And I tell you what, Miguel, records is something that I love doing. I love getting a PC dart or a dairy count backup from a herd and getting to poke around in it and just see what a herd's been up to, and kind of sleuth around and see if I can find any. We learned this term last time, cuellos de botellas, any bottlenecks.
Cuellos de
Um,
botella, right?
yep.
No more cuelos de botella.
No more cuelos. Yeah. Cuellos. Yes. I see it every time I see the double L in my head. I say, don't say oh, don't say the L sound, say the Y sound. And then my mouth does the opposite of what I tell it to do. But cuellos de botella,
Mhm.
bottlenecks. I love
Bottleneck.
looking through a herd's records. I think it's so much. I can just like lose hours just like poking around, trying to figure things out in there. I really get excited when a herd is doing a good job, with record keeping. But I'll tell you what, it is hard. It is it is
Oh, yes.
not an easy thing, and it's even harder when there are two different languages
hmm
within a farm, making sure we have good, consistent record keeping. Um, the farms that you work with, what are you seeing for record keeping? What would you say would be common practices when it comes to keeping records?
Well, it's just like you mentioned, it's difficult. Not everybody works the same. Some farms, they inherited a very well-established record-keeping
Hmm.
system. They use, obviously, some use Dairycomp or PC Dart, different programs, but I think I've seen a little bit of everything. So, but I would say that at the end of the day, even if it is something simple, it is important for you to have records because what you want is that when you are going to take a decision, you make a decision, whoever is coming to the farm to help you make decisions, they have a visual of what's going on. For example, if you have your records in a very good system,
Hmm.
very well established on Dairycomp, well, they can look at the records and say, "Oh, okay, we can do this based on what the numbers that we have." Let's say calves, you have employees in the calf farm. Let's just talk calves. They don't have a computer with Dairycomp, right?
Hmm.
A lot of them, they just have their
Hmm.
hands, maybe a pen.
Hmm.
So if they can at least write down the number of animals that are sick, that way
Hmm.
you know if calves have been treated, that's a start. And
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
helps you. And there are more things, but we can talk about that later. But let's say that's the start. In some places, that's what they do.
Yep. Yep. Um, I think when I'm talking to people about keeping good records, where I start is keep it simple, right? Like find a system that works for you. Maybe it's just me working in academia and the people that I work with, but it seems like as soon as I start talking about, oh, we want to try doing this new thing, immediately people start ideating and getting all sorts of ideas about how we could do this, or we could do this, or we can find out this if we do this. And it's very easy for ideas to spin out of control a little bit until you come up with a system that's so complicated you won't do any of it.
Yes, exactly.
And so I think the important thing that I like to talk about with people when we start is, let's think about what you can stick to, right? Don't make a system like find the thing that you think you can do that doesn't make you go, ugh, right? If
Mm.
you find yourself like, ugh, I don't want to do that, you are not going to when there's, field work to be done, or, a bunch of calves being born, or you have a big, like it's Ovsang day and you got a lot of breedings to get done, right? Like if it's something that you're not going to be able to do at your busiest days, like let's think about how to scale that back a little bit and simplify it, right? And especially if you're talking about employees, right? Like I love places that keep very meticulous records. I think it's a lot of fun, but I also think that it's a mistake if you're not doing any record keeping to think like, oh, I can be that farm, right? Like it doesn't have to be a priority for every farm to keep the most meticulous records. Find a system that is simple enough that you can stick to it,
Exactly.
or else you won't do it at
That's
all.
or they won't do it. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. No, and I remember even when I was at ISU, I remember how very well detailed records we have. Like they were checking caps and you have everything
Mhm, mhm.
right on that chart. But you know that in reality, some places, like you said, they are short-handed. The hoof trimmer is coming that day. They're making silage, or it's really cold and they need to shovel snow. I don't know.
Mhm,
Many
mhm,
things
mhm.
could happen. So as long as it is simple for them to at least have something written down for you so you can see what's going on, yes, I think that would be the goal.
Yes. I
Mhm.
um I've definitely looked at herds before where I've been like, okay, did you all of a sudden have a bunch of ketosis events this month, or did somebody get really excited about writing down ketosis events this month?
Mhm.
Where
Mhm.
you see like nothing and then all of a sudden a bunch and then nothing again. It's like, all right, so somebody got, probably you didn't actually have a whole bunch of ketosis diagnosed. Probably somebody got really excited about either like going and checking cows or writing it down, right? Like
Yes.
and like it's, yeah, it just makes it, find something that's clean and simple and stick to that. And if you find that you get comfortable with that and you decide to start building on a little bit more and say, okay, I'm going to put like calf weights in, right? Calf weights in the comp or whatever it is. Um, like, okay, you can build on that, but first let's get the basics down and make sure that you're doing that consistently and in a way that's easy for both you and your employees and the consultants that work with you to understand.
Hmm. Yes.
So one of my favorite things to look at when I'm looking through records is remarks on events, right? I get a kick out of it. I've seen some hilarious stuff in there. Um,
Oh yeah.
and I usually take a picture and then my Snapchat memories will pop up and remind me, and I'll be like, oh yeah. One of the ones that comes to mind is oh, I've seen a lot of really bad words too.
Oh,
Especially when you're talking about
in
like
Spanish?
both. But if you're talking about like cows that were culled for attitude, um, you'll see some people let their feelings out a little bit. Like
Yes. Oh yeah, I imagine. Yeah.
or one that comes to mind is I was looking at like breeding codes in one herd, and it was, I don't remember who it was. It was a specific person's name. We'll say it's Dan. And it was just like Dan said breed. And that was like their breeding code. Whoever, I don't know if it was their veterinarian, I don't know who it was, but they were like, this person said that was a breeding code. Um, and it just, yeah, but it works, right? If it works for you, just to know that like some people might be going back and looking at that, and I don't judge, I get a kick out of it. But
Hmm. Yeah, no, exactly.
yep, yep,
You learn.
yes. I think one of the things that I think about a lot too is not just simplicity, but consistency. And uh I think it's helpful sometimes to have, like, I've seen farms that next to the computer where records are entered, they have like the list of events that they use and like the definitions of them. And making sure that we're consistent in how we enter things, right? And then what we define as that thing, right? So for example, one that's really hard to look at for me personally is like RPs or even metritis, right? Some people write it down when they observe it, some people write it down when they treat it. Uh, in RP, some people will define it, retained placenta, some people will define it at 24 hours, some people will define it at 48 hours. There's a lot of like, make sure that you, if you're going to record it, make sure you have a consistent, like, um, definition and a way to record it, right?
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of creative ways to spell mastitis. Um, Even within us, the same herd, like different, like in remarks, like for sold events, cows that are sold for mastitis, I've seen a whole bunch of different like ways that are like, okay, like we're basically just saying utter health, right? Like,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
you can set up like user-defined codes, user-defined events, and depending on the software that you use, there's definitely support out there to help you if you want a way to do that that's simpler for you and your employees. Reach out to whichever company you're working with and have them help you optimize those or personalize those for whatever the needs are for your herd, right? There are some standard default things that you and events that you can enter, but there's also ways in a lot of these programs to personalize those as well. So don't be afraid to reach out to the companies that you're working with and ask for help on that.
Yes. And I think in both cases, like the idea here is that everybody is doing the same thing, so we need to standardize the
Hmm.
process. So just like you mentioned, retained placenta in this farm is going to be at 24 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. So that way every new employee knows at 24 hours it's retained placenta. The same with, for example, uh, caps and treatments. You have your protocol, and this is the list of drugs that we use, and this is how we are going to use them, and everybody uses it that way, right? You can also, obviously not all cases are the same, but for the most part, you know that everything is going to follow the same trend, and you don't have anyone just grabbing whatever. No, everybody is needs to be doing the same.
Yes. Yes. I think that's it's we talk about records. We're framing this as a record keeping discussion, but it's also just important for making sure that people are doing things the same, right? If you are treating calves based on a certain criteria, like you need to know that criteria for record keeping, but also people need to know that criteria for doing the actual treatments as well, and when a calf is going to get whatever medication she's going to get, right? Um,
So one very important point is, for example, when the person doing treatments, that person is on vacation, on his day off, whatever, and the person that is covering, that person is like, it's not even there because they don't know what was done the day before. So was the calf treated? Yes, no, who knows? They don't know. And it happens when you ask the question and they are like, I don't know, I wasn't here yesterday. It was
yeah,
my day off. Yes, but someone surely did your job.
yeah,
Oh no, I don't know.
yeah,
That's when you have an issue because you are like,
yes,
no, 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 no. For sure,
yes,
someone must have treated this calf,
yes,
or then that's severe because this calf looks in really bad shape. So
yes.
something like that shouldn't happen. I mean, that's when we need to keep the records, like something that
Yeah.
indicates, yes, they treated this calf yesterday.
Yes. And I think like I automatically, because of my background and some of the stuff that I do, I already automatically think of record keeping as something that's done in a software. But there are some like really, I think, underrated tools when it comes to record keeping. One of them's a whiteboard.
Yes, I love
And
whiteboards.
having like if you're in your calf kitchen, maybe you have a whiteboard and you can put all sorts of information on there, like calves that are suspect, calves that have not been eating, calves that are on, birthdays and what amount of milk they get, right? Making sure you have like use that whiteboard and make sure everybody understands what the things that are on that whiteboard mean, right? Like if a calf didn't eat, we mark her here, right? Or if a calf is treated, we mark that here. Make sure everybody understands what the whiteboard is used for so that you can like, okay, I'm going to walk in the next day. Yesterday was my day off, but I can go in and I can see 396, didn't eat yesterday and she's not eating again today. And so I'm going to like follow a certain procedure to give her electrolytes, whatever treatment or whatever it is, right? Report it to somebody else to look into. But making sure that you like those whiteboards can be a great way to get the point across if you're maintaining them and everybody kind of knows what the procedure is for using that board for communication. And people know to check it too, right? Like, and that so much of that comes with just proper onboarding as well and making sure people are trained.
Exactly.
Another thing that I think is really underrated is, and this works really well with calves, is especially in individual housing, like a card, right? Some sort of some people hang them over the top, or some places might have a place in the front to stick a card, or a little clipboard. But like a just a piece of paper that shows basics,
You
like, okay,
know,
date of birth, how much she's
yes,
getting fed, has she been treated, like some of those basic things on there.
in some places they use ear tags, blank
Hmm.
ear tags. So you write it with a Sharpie, so you write whatever needs to be written. Like, for example, when was the calf treated? And that way you know how many treatments the calf
Hmm.
has received. And
Hmm.
yes, I know in some places you have 50, 100 calves. You can use a notebook, right? You
Hmm.
can
Hmm.
write down quickly, but not everybody has that system. So in some places, like you said, you have hundreds of calves, thousands. So you need a clipboard,
Hmm.
or like you said, some places they use a blank ear tag, so they write down treatments. So something that works for you based on your facility. You're
Yep.
not gonna use a clipboard if you have hutches
Yep.
because it's going to get wet.
Right.
But you
Right.
can
Yeah.
use something else, something that you know is away from the calf so the calf can chew on it,
Yep. Yep.
so where people can actually see it.
Yes. Yes. And people need to be aware that it's there and aware of what it's used for, right? And a lot of that just comes back to proper onboarding and proper training.
Proper onboarding. Yes.
And making sure, we might need to retrain every once in a while if we find that, okay, people aren't writing things down on the whiteboard. All right, it's time to have like a little refresher on this is where things need to get written down. And kind of
Yes.
reminding people about stuff like that, right?
Exactly.
Um, Never
And
underestimate
it's
the power of a good whiteboard.
yes, the whiteboards. I like whiteboards too, especially for example, you have cows in the hospital pen,
Hmm.
and you have milkers who they can just look at the board and see what's going on with those animals.
Yep.
Usually, someone has a really good handle, like the crew leader, but if not, they can look at the board. Oh, yeah, that cow is here because it has, I don't know, metritis,
Yeah.
and it was treated with Poliflex. So there
Yes.
is no need to check for every day to see if the cow has mastitis, because the cow is not there because of that. Cow
Yes.
has something else. So employees should be aware of what's going on. So everything is more efficient.
Yes.
Yeah.
I personally, I'll say this, I get really nervous when everything's dependent on one things being in one person's head, right? Like like you mentioned the crew
Yes.
leader. Yes, that's important that the crew leader knows what's going on. But I get really nervous when like, oh, I just have all these treatments in my head. Oh, I know the cows in my head. Whenever it's like a
Yes.
single person, and nothing against that person. I think it's fantastic that they have all of that in their head. But like get a backup, right? What happens if that person is sick? Happens if that person has a family emergency? What happens like if you can't get a hold of that person for whatever reason, right? Like don't just it's amazing, and I wish I had the brain capacity that some of these people do, just to remember like all the cow numbers and every like then and her dam was this like especially on large dairies. I am amazed when I walk through like how much people can remember, but
Yeah.
don't let it be your only way of keeping track.
Exactly. I agree. That's why I like notebooks, boards,
Yep.
checklists,
Yep.
because
Yep.
they really help. So no one needs to have that responsibility on its own. Let's say anyone who comes to work that day to the farm should be able to pick up where the previous person left. So say,
Yes.
okay, what's today? Okay, why is this cow here? Okay, it says here that blah blah blah, you was sick. Okay. I mean, that's the easiest way to keep control.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'd also, the other piece of advice that I have is work with your consultants. I work with a lot of nutritionists and other consultants, right, who really also kind of nerd out over number stuff. And I'll say, like, you as a producer or an employee don't have to be the person who nerds out over number stuff. That's why you hire a consultant. Personally, I do it too, right? And so as an extension person, if you're a herd in Iowa and you're listening to this and you want somebody to like look at records for you, like, hey, reach out to me. That's my job. Um, but if you're hiring a consultant, a lot of them also enjoy this stuff. And so I think it's helpful for a lot of nutritionists to know what kinds of records that you're keeping, right? So like I've been on farms where we're like, oh yeah, we're measuring birth weight and leading weight. Here it is in this notebook in my desk drawer, right? Um, and if I'm your calf consultant, I want to know those numbers. I want to see if calves are doubling birth weight. You don't have to, as a producer, necessarily go through that yourself. Give it to your consultant and let them look at it, right? Or send it to me and let me look at it. I'm happy to throw that into Excel and make a little pretty graph for you and say, here's where you're at. Like you are, not quite doubling, or you're doubling, or you're more than doubling birth weight between birth and weaning. It's a great way to keep track of some of that stuff. So,
Exactly.
um, yeah, don't be
Exactly.
afraid. Like yeah, you pay those people. If you're a taxpayer in Iowa, you're paying me, right? Um, and so don't be afraid to like get the full benefit out of those resources for the experts that you hire.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
And I like that point, the simplicity, right? Especially with employees, keep it simple. You don't have to bog them down with
mhm,
a lot of information. Just the simplest works the best. If you want to complicate things a little more for yourself, you can add a few more things. But for employees, just keep it simple. You can gather the information. Yes, they have other things to do. Maybe you are the one who needs to enter all that information
mhm,
in the computer because they don't have time for that. As long as you know what you need, that's fine. Then, like Gail said, your consultant can put all those numbers together and then maybe have a graph so you can see what's going on, a
mhm,
visual
mhm,
of what's going on.
mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
You don't have time to do that as a dairy producer, or you might not. But but like I said, your consultant may be very busy, but you are also paying them.
Yes, exactly.
So, all right, Miguel, let's talk about a little bit of vocab. If I want to talk about records, what would I say?
Actually, that word we use the same word in Spanish,
Oh,
record.
oh, perfect. Record. Yeah. I just say it with a
Yes.
Spanish accent. Yeah.
Aha, even you
Uh,
said roll your R, record.
yeah. Record. Yeah.
A plus.
Thank you. Yay. All I want is an A plus.
There you have it.
So we can use record as like a noun, but we can also use it as a verb. So I would say a record is the noun, like I'm keeping a record. Record is I am writing it down. I am actually recording it and writing it down. So we spell it the
That,
same way, we just say it differently. In Spanish, how does that go?
well, let's say when the technical word would be registro, right?
Registro.
That will be registro. A record is un registro. But when you enter information, you
Mm-hmm.
record information, then you said to registras, right? Registras, that's the verb. So you can use
Registras.
registras, right? So if you want to say mantén un record, keep a record, that's perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can say that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you actually enter the information, when you record the information, you say registra.
Registra.
Record the sick cows. Registra las vacas enfermas.
Las vacas enfermas. Okay. Yes.
Record the weight of the calves. Registra el peso de los becerros. So registra.
Perfect.
Okay.
What about writing? To write, like writing it down.
Well, that could be a nota.
Anota.
A nota. Which it will be write down. Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
there are synonyms, right? You can
Yeah.
say escribe or
Escribe.
anota. So write down, escribe, take note, anota. I would say that
Yes.
would be almost the literal translation.
Yeah. I remember
Toma.
learning escribe in Spanish one. Yes.
Yeah, escribe. So you can say
Yeah.
escribe or
Yeah.
anota. It's okay.
Yes. So I can say escribe aquí, write it here, right?
Yes, you can say escribe aquí.
Yes.
Yes.
What about whiteboard? We've talked about whiteboards and how much we love them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Is pizarrón with Z.
Pizarrón.
Pizarro with accent
Yeah.
and the letter N
Yeah.
at the end. Pizarrón. So whiteboard, pizarrón.
Pizarrón. Pizarrón.
Pizarrón or
Yes.
pizarra is the same.
Pizarra.
Pizarra.
Okay.
Okay. So another word that is important when we are talking about records is for example the word treatment. If you are talking about treatments, remember tratamiento, which
Tratamiento. Yep.
a lot of people, well, I guess we abbreviate treatment as TX,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
So in Spanish, this is the same. Okay. So treatments, it could be TX if that's easier for you, I guess. It's the
So
same.
tratamiento is treatment, but I could just if
Tratamiento.
I'm writing it down, I can just write TX. Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. And I would say, at least this is kind of what my method. I like that, and it's not that it's mine. I just use it, but I abbreviate a lot.
Mhm.
So that helps because that way, if you don't have a lot of space, you can just abbreviate the drug that you are using, for example, and administration method, for
Mhm.
example, or if the calf didn't eat, right?
Mhm.
So I abbreviate those things. So
Yep.
it's up to you. If your calf didn't eat, you can have a bottle, right? For example, and the bottle with a sign or a line crossing it.
Yeah. Yep.
So that means the calf didn't eat.
Yes.
Now, if you shouldn't feed a calf, then you put the same bottle, but you say underneath says no,
Yeah.
no milk.
Yes.
So it depends on I guess, depends on your farm or what you want to do, but that's important for records. Otherwise, every person is going to write something different, and that's what you don't want.
Right. Yes, and making sure that people understand what that
What
means,
all
right?
those symbols mean. Yes.
Right. Yes. Yes. Going back to I love pictures. Pictures are a great way to get things across. I think they're really accessible for people who I know I've worked with not everybody's at the same level of reading, right? Like students who might have dyslexia or somebody like there's a lot of reasons that you might want it to be simpler and easier to read and might not necessarily want people to have to rely on like a high standard of reading, right? And so doing things that are simple like that, easily visual, it's a great way to catch people's attention. It's a great way to make it simple and easy to understand and easy to maintain the procedure, right? But also very important that everybody actually knows what that means.
Yes.
So that's where that
Exactly.
training comes back in, training and onboarding.
Exactly.
Yes. All
So
right,
do you
Miguel.
remember how to say onboarding, by the way?
Oh, good point. I do not remember how to say onboarding. Tell me.
So we said that in Spanish we say orientación. It's more
Orientación.
like orientation,
Yeah.
but onboarding is kind of an orientation session. So
Is there an accent over the O in orientación?
yes,
All right.
orientación. Yes. Oh,
Onboarding.
A plus.
Hey, I'm doing so much better today. Yes.
Very good. You're on fire.
Yes. Well, maybe we should quit while I'm ahead. All right. Well, thank you for everyone for listening to today's episode of Spanish Fridays. If you'd like to learn more about what Miguel and I are up to, you can visit his website at optimumdairy.com. I, as a member of the Extension Dairy team, keep all of our stuff on the Extension Dairy team website, and that is extension.iastate.edu/dairy team. Nos vemos la siguiente semana. See you next week.
Nos vemos. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
This institution is an equal opportunity provider. For the full non-discrimination statement or combination inquiries, go to www.extension.iastate.edu/diversity/ext.